You are listening to the Taylor Road Baptist Church Pastors Podcast. We are so excited to have you join with us today. Please make sure that you go and subscribe to our channel so you can get a notification every time we post a new podcast. Hey everybody, welcome back to another edition of our Taylor Road Pastors Podcast. And we're here with Pastor Daniel, and we got a special guest today, Mr. Daniel Brunson.
Special.
We've asked him, we just kind of pulled him out of the office and
about 3 minutes ago.
this is what happens on your day off. You come hang out at the church, we put you to work.
Yeah, you have big pupils because your eyes are dilated, and now you get to come hang out with you guys and do a podcast.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
For everybody to listen to. I wish, the only thing I wish you were like on pain med right now, just really open you up.
If they had done a procedure. That would really just open everything. Spill all the beans then.
Oh, man.
We brought Daniel in here, like I said, he was just hanging out and kind of come talk to us about the men's ministry. Y'all had the wild game dinner this last Friday. How did that go?
It went well. We had plenty of food. All the food was great. Randy and Ken Green, Wayne Stewart, and Jeff all helped cook, and that was awesome. And people brought food and everything I ate was wonderful. We had Tyler Stevens. He spoke and just kind of gave his testimony, and you could just really see the Holy Spirit just moving in him. And it's been an honor for me to get to know him and just the way God's moving in his life. So that's been really good.
Yeah, Tyler shared a little bit, probably 2 years ago, I guess, in church, but
Right.
not to the extent that he did Friday night. And I think there was a lot of guys that his testimony is the kind that a lot of guys can connect with, because it's not just one struggle. I mean, it was a lot of different things he's been through. And I'm, personally really excited about the direction of our men's ministry. And we got a leadership team, and Daniel kind of headed that up over the last year and still be a part of the leadership team. I know we got a couple of new guys coming on there, but, I know growing up for me in the Baptist church, there really never seemed to be a clear vision or, mission for the men. It was always, we'd have Baptist men breakfast once a quarter, and then, we might get together and build something, But that's something that I think is awesome about the men's ministry here at Taylor Road. We're not massive, we're growing, but it's intentional. And
I think one thing that, we really just try to hone in on is just allow God to take this where he wants it, and not to be for us, and not take the glory for wherever it's headed, but just where does God want this to go? Mm-hmm. And I think when we started this, it really was just about trying to get men together and just healing men from whatever struggle they might be dealing with. And that's kind of where we're still trying to go, and we're just trying to get men more involved in our discipleship groups we have, and just the fellowship. I know in my life, that's been one of the biggest things that helped me was to have another man come in my life and just walk with me through all my struggles and different things. So, and that's what we hope for other men to be able to do that, because, we believe, the strength of the church and of the family is through men. Mm-hmm. And the only way, and I know in my life, the only way I was able to do that is to be healed from, my internal struggles that I had.
Yeah, and that's, when we talk about men's ministry at Taylor Road, and this is what I mean, really echoing what he said, that it's so intentional, because it's not just a quarterly gathering. We do have our wild game dinner, and we call them war stories, because every man has a war story, whether it's from growing up, or guys with addiction, or just anger problems, or marriage on the rocks. God has redeemed all of us, and we all have a testimony. And so we do that once a quarter, but we also have serve days where we try to get into the lives of some of our widows.
We got one coming up the
26th. It's the 26th.
Yep, and we have a pretty good bit of things going on this time. And I've been surprised how that's just kind of grown.
Yeah.
And the more people that find out about it, and they talk to other people, and then I've gotten people come to me about different things and ask, can we do those things?
Yeah.
And we haven't been able to turn nobody down yet, so that's been good.
Been real special.
Yeah.
To especially the last one we did. I don't remember how many widows in our church that we were able to minister to, but that kind of, I think that's a great picture of the church. taking care of the widows and the least of these sometimes in our own midst. And then, like Daniel mentioned, the weekly discipleship groups that meet. We got some that meet a couple in the evenings, some in the mornings, and they're going through different books of the Bible. And that's just a great time of accountability. And then, one of the things that we do is unique, I think, to this city, is there is a group that meets on Friday mornings that is intentionally about the struggle of pornography and sexual addiction. I mean, that's one that we kind of have put away in the closet for so long as the church.
Yeah, everybody's scared to talk about it.
Yeah, and those guys, I mean, it's just one of those. It's not one of those that is publicly announced as far as time, location, and all that. But I've been amazed at, like, we had one guy come to me and talk to me about this a couple of years ago, and then another guy, and then it just seemed like the floodgate opened, and there were several guys that were like, "Yeah, I've got that issue." And so there's an accountability group that meets weekly, for that area of struggle. And then working on, I just got an email yesterday from Shaco Springs. We try to do a spring men's retreat every year just to get away. And so, there's so many different layers to the men's ministry, but everybody seems to get plugged in and serve.
And one other thing that we're going to try to do this next year is start doing some podcasts for men just to come and, like we're doing now, and just give their few-minute testimony. It don't have to be long, but you never know through somebody's story how it can touch somebody else. Mm-hmm. And the more men that tell their story, then that will be able to help other men. Mm-hmm. Because there's I'm going through the same thing, no matter how big or small it is, but sometimes men just don't know who to talk to. Yeah. Or a lot of pride's involved and they don't. But if somebody opens up with their story, then you never know what God might do with you.
Yeah.
And, sometimes it's hard to open up and tell your story, but that's why God gave it to you.
Yeah.
He gave it to you to tell, not just to keep to yourself.
And there's almost, like when you hear somebody's testimony, like Tyler the other night, I was sitting back there listening to him, and there was a lot of guys there that I didn't know, and there's a lot of guys there that I did know, and you never know what's going on in somebody's life. You never know what has. And I sat back there listening to him, and I thought to myself, I wonder how many guys right now in this room are kind of breathing a sigh of relief, saying, I'm not the only one.
Right.
Even though they may not have come forward or come out and said, hey, I've got this issue in my life, or I've had this issue. That was kind of almost like an event like that. And this is kind of the way I think we've structured these, is we have these quarterly events for them to be able to say, well, Daniel Brunson has been through this. They hear him, somebody willing to kind of bare their soul. And then maybe they get plugged into a small D group and they go, yeah, you remember what he talked about the other night? I go through the same thing. I do. So it's kind of like that. I think the big quarterly event, War Stories, kind of breaks the ice a little bit.
Yeah, and we kind of did that at the spring retreat. We had somebody give their testimony, and that opened doors up for people to come forward, and that's kind of the goal. We just, any way we can help men and try to heal them through other people's story. That's what we want to do. And speaking of the war stories, I think the goal each year is, of course, you want to grow, but our main focus is, yes, it's good for church members to come, but we really want to grow this outside of just church members. We want to really kind of make this just the big event every year to try to reach out to the community and really try to get men of the church to invite, people that might not believe or maybe just haven't gone to church or whatever, to bring them here to fellowship and listen to a speaker or whatever. And so that's kind of where we want the Wild Game Dinner just to kind of grow into, just more than just church members getting together, but really use that as to reach our local community.
Yeah.
Even here in just Halcyon, it's just right across the street from where we're at.
Yeah, and I know the Conquer series that we did this summer, it really kind of pulled in some guys that, again, that's one of those tough, it's about, the battle of lust and sexual addiction, things like that, and I think I was talking with Chris Langley the other day about who led that group, probably going to try to re-offer that in the spring, because it was so much needed, and I think there's
Yeah, well, and the stats show that, and it's probably more in this now, but it's over 60% of a healthy church. Like 60% of the men in a healthy church struggle with porn, and that's looking at it once a month or more.
Mm-hmm.
And you think about, I mean, we're a decent sized church, so if you just think about 60%, you know, I'm not saying that's here, and I don't know that,
Right.
You know, but I know there's more men that need to be reached for that addiction than we have. So, you know, there's no way that we can stop.
Right.
You know, once we open it up, you know, you got to continue that, and you got to continue to try to reach to other men that, hey, you don't have to be scared to come forward.
Right.
And you can. We're going to love you the same way, no matter if we know you have an issue or we don't.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's not going to change anything. You know, in that group that meets on Friday, I mean, the same way you can spill your life out to them, and they look at you and love you just like they did before you said anything.
Yeah, and that raises a good point too. That one of the things that I appreciated about the Conquer series, particularly, and I think there were some guys that were in that small group for this reason, is that it wasn't just, hey, you can come to this only if you struggle with it. But the reality is there were guys in there who were like, I need to be ready to talk to my grandson about this. Right. I need to, you know, I'm not personally struggling with that right now, but, you know, and that was, you know, the series that we just did on the One Big Question. I kept trying to reemphasize to our church is you may not be wrestling with these questions and these doubts, but chances are your kids are going to, your grandkids.
I think we also got to realize, yeah, that book's kind of geared toward porn, but you can really put any struggle you have, you can just replace it. You know, if it's pills or if it's drugs or whatever, it's still the kind of same concept, you know, trying to get healed from in the process that you need to take. So, yeah, we're talking about porn at this moment, but we can, if you're struggling with anything else, it's still kind of the same process.
That's right. And that's what the Twyler story was about, you know, and I think you're right. I mean, it's just, the story's the same. It's just kind of the details are different here and there. Right. But I mean, a struggle is a struggle, and addiction is addiction, and you know, all of us are susceptible to it. I think, you know, nobody is beyond temptation.
I think you can allude to this, but I think the church has tried to help some people that has a porn addiction get some counseling if they can't afford it. You know, I don't know how much, you know, with the budget that we're allowed to do that, but I know y'all have done that, and you know, you never want to turn somebody away,
right?
That's trying to get the help, you know, and so, you know, I just kind of put that out there. That's always a possibility, depending on where we're at in our budget and things like that. But don't be scared to ask. You know, and I've learned in my life, you don't know until you ask. Yeah. You know, but it's hard to get turned down. But you know, if you have a struggle and it's to that point where you need counseling, you know, talk to somebody. Yeah. You know, we're here. I'm here. You know, I can do what I can. The pastor's here. I know Clint's willing to help, and there's a lot of guys in the church I know that's come up to me and say, "Hey, if you got anybody that needs some help, just let me know." You know, so don't be afraid. And I know if you come tell me, I'm gonna love you either way. That's right. You know, it's not gonna make a difference.
That's right.
You know.
Well, and that, you know, so I guess this would be a good time to say that if there are guys listening to this, you know, and you say, yeah, I've just got some stuff that I've been dealing with. I need to get plugged into, you know, a good group of guys for accountability. And Daniel hit the nail on the head. There is no, Lord knows, we should have rocks thrown at us in judgment. So there ain't gonna be no rocks being thrown in judgment. And so, you know, if that's you, my email address is Daniel, DANIEL @taylorroad.org. You know, hey, I've got this, or they've come by the church and said, I've got this issue, and I'll simply just give them a phone number and say, call that phone number when you're ready to get some help. And these guys are going to eat you up with just love and accountability, and they're just there to hold your arms up, you know.
I think one thing you'll learn, you'll realize that you're not much different than the other person that went through it. Right. You know, when you start actually talking to people and they're opening up to you, you realize there's a lot of the same things that you've done that they did. Yeah. And you realize, well, hey, it's not so bad. Yeah. Because they're just like me.
Right. It's that sigh of relief.
Yeah, it's a sigh of relief. But the hard part is saying, hey, I have a problem.
Right. So that's the lie that Satan wants you to believe, I think, is that you're the only one that, you know, everybody is going to be ashamed of you, and everybody's going to, you know, when the reality is, man, no, you're not alone. And so, anyhow,
and I'll just say from the student ministry perspective, our students are struggling with pornographies and addictions and rejection and depression, and I think it's so important for dads to be talking about it. For men to openly talk about this stuff with their kids, and to try and break that cycle of sin. I know that's something that we've talked with Jake and Tyler about at length, and at least they know the struggle. They can identify it, and they know that we're there to help if that happens. And so that's what encouraged me about the men's ministry. By men coming closer to the Lord and confessing some of those sins and getting them out there, they become better husbands and better fathers, and they're able to lead better. And so I think it just strengthens the church as a whole. Strengthens the family unit just as God intended it to be.
And you can put as many barriers and guards in your family, but and I don't say this by any judgy way or anything like that. But if your child has a smartphone or iPad or something like that, their chances of being exposed to that go up significantly. I know there are parental protections you can put in place and all that, but kids are smart, and they can get around that kind of stuff. But and so our job as the church is to walk alongside men, who are struggling, but also to help equip families to say, this is, used to, if you had that addiction or that problem, you had to go into public to buy that magazine or whatever. Now you can do it in the dark, in the secret where nobody knows about it. It's on your phone.
And it's easily covered up.
Yeah.
You can walk in on church Sunday with a smile on your face and
that's
nobody
right.
has a clue.
Nobody has a clue. So anyway, looking forward, we're starting a new sermon series this week on the fruit of the Spirit. And
it's not a pineapple.
It might be. You don't know that.
I don't know. David Gibbons says it's not, and so I trust Dave.
David is a Latin guy. I go back to the Greek, the original. Okay, so I'm just kidding. He'll say that Latin was the original, but no, I'm excited about it. So we're gonna spend October and November talking about the fruit of the Spirit, and we'll be.
It's not plural.
No, it's not plural, and we're actually going to talk about that this Sunday. That it's not fruits of the Spirit, and in fact, that passage may have something to do with Paul's whole message of Galatians, and so. Church family.
And there's context to it.
There is. You can't just lift it out of there and say, let's talk about this one thing. So I'm excited about it. It is harvest season, and so we'll kind of play off that theme.
Yeah, I see what you're doing there.
And don't forget also, Sunday evening, we won't have any home groups, but we will have just a time of business at 5:30, and then our choir is combining with Central Baptist from Phoenix City to do a worship night at 6 o'clock, and it's a combined choir kind of thing, and I'm excited. I think it'll be great. They've done a lot of hard work to get ready for it. So
yeah.
Anything else that you know of?
No, I think we're good right now.
Yeah. Well, as we close out, Daniel mentioned it earlier, guys. If you're listening, October 26th is our next work day and our serve day, and we'll be doing a lot of different projects. We got some widows' houses that we'll be at. We got some prep that we have to do for Treats the Town coming up in late October, a couple of other things. So be looking for your email from the men's ministry. And if you are not on that email list, if you've never signed up for that, please contact the church office ASAP and let them know to add you to that list, because we send out information all the time, details and stuff like that. So
yeah, this is the first week of October. By the end of this week, we'll have the men's ministry website up. So that would be taylorroad.org/men. So you can be looking for that this week.
Men.
That's right.
All right.
Cool. Y'all have a good week.
Again, thank you so much for joining with us today. Please make sure that you go and subscribe to our channel so you can get those notifications. If you'd like to know more about Taylor Road Baptist Church, we're at taylorroad.org. We're located at 1685 Taylor Road, Montgomery, Alabama 36117.